What is up, guys? This is your boy Zilla, and welcome to today's episodes. I'll be covering the trilogy fight between Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier. But before I do that, please hit that subscribe button, also hit the notification bell so you get notified every time I make a video, guys. So let's get in this because, man, it has been a long time since I've been covering UFC fights. I remember my first video that ever blew up was the video I did, Stipe versus DC1. And man, what was that, like 2 years ago? And here I am 2 years later still covering fights. That video was the one where I realized I wanted to cover UFC events and give my predictions on them. But enough of that, let's get to the fighter goals. What do these fighters need to do to win their fight and become the greatest UFC heavyweight of all time? First, let's start with the challenger and former champion DC. What does he need to do to win this and become the greatest heavyweight and probably one of the greatest fighters ever in UFC history? Double champion, beat Stipe the first time by knockout, and arguably his resume is as better as anybody. The only person he's definitively lost to is Jon Jones. And in this fight, he's going to have to do more of what he did in the second fight in the first 3 rounds, and that is he is going to have to wrestle. And he has said he's going to wrestle, which we already know coming in he's going to wrestle. So basically he's going to grab this dude, try to take him down as much as possible, and do a Usman versus George Masvidal style of fight where he is going to grind Stipe out. He's not going to stand with him. Anytime he can, he will grab him, put him up against the fence, and force him to the ground at any means necessary. Because in the first fight, had DC had never walked away from that style, Stipe would have still been worried about the takedown and would not have been able to commit to punches. So with that information in mind, we can kind of frame where the fight is going to go. And for DC, don't get too comfortable on the feet. Stipe already knows that if he can go to the body, he can start to whittle away at DC in the fight. So DC is going to have to be more pressure so Stipe cannot get comfortable and he can get him on the ground, and then from there try to finish him, because Stipe barely survived that first round when he was taken down. If DC puts more pressure, he might be able to finish the fight. But over on Stipe's side, it's a little bit more mysterious of what he needs to do, because he made a great mid-fight adjustment in their second fight. But in this fight, and we can say this based on the first 2 rounds, right? It was already hard enough for Stipe to hit DC. Now DC got comfortable enough to the point where he let his guard down, and Stipe was able to counter attack and get the momentum on his side. But in this fight, it's going to go more like the first round, where Stipe is going to constantly be fighting takedowns. DC is going to come prepared to grind for 25 minutes straight and not let his hand off the gas pedal, making the fight even more restrictive than it was in the second fight, or in the first rounds of the second fight, where he couldn't get anything going. So DC is willing to fake grabs, to grab him, don't get anything, to just keep grabbing him over and over and over again. And you see in his training. So what Stipe needs to do is get ready with that takedown defense. He's going to have to get up against the cage. The cage is going to be his friend, and he's going to have to punch him in the stomach while he is in clinch, really hurt him in the body. Then once he gets back out to the middle of the ring, start hitting him in the body again. That's the only thing that makes him weak. Start off hitting him to the middle of the body, hit him with a couple of combinations, and maybe mix it with a knee. Even though that's a little risky because he could grab that knee. But hit him with the knee, stay always in safe position, and do not end up on the ground, and keep punching him, and eventually DC is going to wear himself out if he's not getting anything successful, and he might be forced to stand up on the feet and commit. And that's when Stipe is going to do his real damage to DC's stomach, because we can do that, then he might have a chance of knocking him out again. So now let's get into some of the scenarios of this fight. Whereas in the first round, the first fight, Stipe got knocked out. In the first round of the second fight, DC dominated. And let's just base it on flow. Let's just say it goes like what DC did in the second fight, but he does that the whole fight, right? We can already say that DC is probably going to win the first round just by grinding. So the second round is where Stipe is going to make the adjustment. He's going to try something, and DC is just going to keep trying to do something to him. So what is the adjustment that he needs to do? And I think the adjustment that he needs to do is stay up against the cage, circle out and just keep hitting him with body shots. Play for the long game, because if he plays for the long game, yeah, he's still hitting him and DC still, getting him up against the face, but that doesn't count for anything really. A little bit of control, but just hitting him and then just staying strike, because he needs to be prepared to go to a decision if necessary. So in that, just stay up against the fence, circle around for the second round. The third round, he's going to try and dig into him with his punches, force DC to wrestle again. In the fourth and fifth round, we'll really see the damage start to take effect on DC, as he's going to have a little bit of trouble trying to take Stipe down now that, his body's been injured and he keeps taking punches, affecting his stamina. And that's where Stipe can really go to work and try to get the knockout. But in my prediction, I think DC wins and he becomes the greatest heavyweight of all time. It's going to be hard to counter for Stipe that head ducking, because if he employs what Curtis Blades employed against JDS, then it's going to be hard for me to see, because he could barely do it then. But now DC perfectly tightening up his game to where he's not going to be staying on the feet at all. He's willing to just slam him up against the cage at any moment and take him down. I'm not sure that Stipe can stop hardcore takedowns 3 times in a row over and over and over again in a fight. And that's just my opinion. But guys, this has been the best Gojira and UFC news. Please hit the subscribe button, also hit the notification bell so you get notified every time I make a UFC prediction. And I will see you guys next time. Peace out.